Spring practice is still going strong. Pro day went really strong for a former Bama QB. And is the Tide going to have to reset their wide receiver board?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, HSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. I want to thank Game Time for being back with us. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks, everybody, for making this your first listen every day. Sorry, I don't have my microphone today. I'm traveling. I forgot my microphone.
Where are you at? Where are you is?
Savannah? Right now, I'm in Macon, Georgia.
Macon. Pretty cool place.
But I was in Savannah. We're hopefully going to be restoring the Forsyth Park fountain, which is maybe the most iconic cast iron fountain in the country. So
really,
we did it back in '88. So that's good.
Was that fountain in the Forrest Gump movie?
Was it?
Could have been. So. I mean, I'm just saying they filmed a lot of Forrest Gump in Savannah, and a lot was around the parks. And I was just thinking if it was that level of iconic, probably so. But Macon's a cool place. A lot of sports stuff in Macon. Yeah.
We always seem to play a lot of Macon teams. All right. Speaking of Gump, Alabama spring practice is still going on. Now, it didn't practice Wednesday, but what are your thoughts so far on spring practice now that it's just gotten kicked back off? I mean, it's barely kicked back off from spring break, but still.
Well, there hasn't been a lot of news, but that's because DeBoer has changed a few things, and some of this sort of predictable. I mean, in terms of like last year, there was more access. Last year, it was more, hey, media guys, you can come talk to our assistant coaches. You can come talk to the players. We're going to have a lot of head coach access. This year, it's been cut down. Now, why is that? I think probably, I'm just guessing here, Kalen DeBoer has figured out the way Nick Saban did things at Alabama might be the blueprint, where there's a little less access. It's not good for me and Luke, not good for you fans. But maybe they think it's best for the program if there's.
I disagree that it's not good for us. It's not good for the fans necessarily. It's good for us because it means that we just get to speculate.
Yeah, we're speculating, which means that we're wronger than usual when we have to speculate more. But
there's
just a little. Yeah, we are pretty hilarious, but there is a little less access, and I think. So that's one of the reasons news isn't as plentiful as maybe it was a year ago. But there is still some news and some things to talk about. But number one for me is always going to be quarterbacks. And I know Pete Nakos from On3 had a piece about, hey, this is some QB intel, and Austin Mack had a big day on Tuesday. He's one to watch here. I'm not dismissing that. Pete has good sources, and I'm sure they're inside the building. But let's all huddle around and keep a little secret here. Isn't the number one goal of Alabama this spring not to name a starter, not to say, hey, this is the guy against Florida State. This is our dude. So here's the guy that we're going to put front and center all summer. I know we would love that to be the case as fans. Maybe the number one goal is, we love all three of these guys. We love Ty. We think he could be the starter this fall. We think Austin Mack is a dude. We know Keelan Russell's a dude. Let's keep all three of them here all summer and not push anyone into the portal.
And let's also spread some misinformation. Seriously.
That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
The goal is keeping these three guys. And here's why. Here's some inside scoop if y'all want. They like all three of these guys. It's not like they want any of them to leave. As a matter of fact, they don't want any of them to leave. So you can't just name imagine the fallout if they said, okay, Ty's going to be the quarterback, and he's so good, he's probably going to be the quarterback for 2 years.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Okay. Imagine if they said, okay, Austin's the quarterback. How's that going to do for Keelan Russell, who's just 1 year behind him? How's that going to do for Ty, who needs to start? I mean, so I think people starving for quarterback depth chart, who's one, who's two, who's three, A, you're not going to get it. And B, you shouldn't even want that. What you want is all three guys improving, all three guys competing, all three guys coming to Alabama next August, because all three of these guys are really good football players. All three of them. This isn't about, hey, I like this guy or I like A, B, or C. It's about all of these guys are good. As Alabama fans, we should want all of them here in August. So naming one as ahead of the others is doing damage. That's not helping.
Speaking of quarterbacks, one former Alabama quarterback had his pro day and apparently did really well. Jalen Milroe, who did not have a great Senior Bowl. I don't think that's
True.
It can't be a secret. It was televised.
True.
But he apparently looked really good today. Now, I was on a Montgomery radio station like I am every Wednesday with Doug Amos, and he asked me, well, tell me about it. And I said, look, all I know is Jalen Milroe apparently showed out, ran under a 4.4, had some incredible passes, not the least of which to Isaiah Horton, and the Steelers apparently love him, and threw a really great pass in practice, and everybody just oohed and awed. And he said, yeah, well, who is it? Who is the defender? I said, look, now you're asking too many questions. Why you want to bring up old stuff? There probably wasn't a defender. But at the same time, the fact I said the NFL not as much as the NBA, but the NFL loves potential. They love to see somebody and go, we can work with that. They're not necessarily fired up about people who we've seen his ceiling. You know, they love to see, we think this guy can blossom under our tutelage. And Jalen Milroe is the perfect, he's, I mean, I hate to say he's like, you can mold the clay. The clay's already molded into this beautiful hunk of a statue. You just wish that clay could throw a better pass.
No, all that's true. And, you know, and this is the same for, like us, NFL scouting college is so similar to the college guys that scout high school football. Everyone needs to focus on clay. I think Alabama fans are like, boy, once the NFL really looks at Jalen's tape, they're going to see he has a difficult time completing passes accurately down the field. Yeah, they've seen it. They're aware. This is not a secret. You know, Jalen's assets and his deficiencies, they are extremely well known. They're obvious. What the NFL is looking for in a situation like today where they're throwing on air is exactly the word Luke used, clay. That's what they're looking for. Show us something we can work with. A lot of people listen and maybe play golf. I use this analogy a lot, and it's so true as it relates to these football players and what scouts are looking for. You know, let's say 70 is a good score, right? If you play golf, 70 is really good. So let's say a dude goes out and he plays 4 rounds and he shoots 70, 70, 70, 70. And you're like, well, this guy clearly can play. He's 70's good. Let's say another guy shoots 75, 75, 75, 61. You know who the scouts are going to like? 61 dude. That's who they're going to like, because the guy that's shooting 70 every single day he plays can't shoot 60. He can't do those things. The guy that shot 61 once, he can do those things. So they think to themselves, we're the best coaches in the world. We're the best coaches on the planet. Maybe we can get this guy to shoot close to 61 every day. And sure, some of you are saying, dude, if he shot 77 all the other days, he's never going to be that guy. You might be right. But what if you're wrong? What if you're wrong? They're going to gamble on the dude that shot 61. And that's Jalen. That's Jalen. And today he showed again that he's the dude that can shoot 61. He obviously ran like a fast wide receiver. He looks like a chiseled running back. And guess what? He threw the ball today extremely well. Were there defenders? Did he have to make reads? Were there safeties cutting in front of him? Were there progressions he had to make?
Were there defensive linemen chasing after him?
No, none of those things. But the clay was there. And his clay is better than virtually everyone else's clay. And that's what the focus is. And sure, the NFL's bet on a lot of guys with good clay that didn't work out. But they're going to bet on the dude with clay as opposed to the guy that has a limited ceiling. The guy, sure, he's a good player, shoots 70 every time out, but 70 is not going to win the Super Bowl. 61 wins the Super Bowl. So how's
That's
that?
the worst. That's
How's
the
that?
worst sports.
I know.
If you
It
want
is.
to win the Super Bowl, you need to bring your 9-iron and a home run. I mean,
I know. It is terrible. It is terrible. It's terrible and a good point both at once.
I don't know why this made me think of this, but the whole Clay thing makes me think about Louis C.K. had a bit about how he hates small shops. He said every time I walk in, he said my girlfriend said, let's go into this shop right here. He said, let's just break up. Why don't we just do that instead? This is no. And he said, I hate to walk in there and you open the door and it's like cling, cling. He said, you know, those crappy little bells all the small shops have. And he said, you walk in and it's just you and you're surrounded by her dream. He said, he said, I always look at these little clay pots and I go, hey, who is it? Who are you? Debbie? Ooh, Debbie, your stuff sucks. Anyway, Louis C.K., not exactly a humanitarian. So let's talk about Monarch money. Yep. Ever check your bank account and wonder, hey, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control of your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop managing your money and start building your wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized how much I was spending on food delivery, and it was a lot. Now I budget smarter and I save a lot more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. That's a big deal right there, guys. I'm telling you. Now I want to tell you about Game Time. I'm so excited about Game Time. I never used a live read. We don't even have a live read ready, and I can tell you all about Game Time.
I used Game Time today.
Really?
I did.
That's awesome.
I'm a concert guy. As much as we talk about sports here, I'm a concert guy. I love concerts, and man, the concerts for the summer are already set. I just went through them and I set up some okay, I'm going to look at this concert on this date. I'm going to look at this concert on this date because I'm trying to get the best deal possible, and I'm going to do it through Game Time. And I'm talking about even maybe going to Arlington this summer to see Jelly Roll and Morgan Wallen, driving from Fairhope, Alabama, all the way to Dallas, Texas. Know how I'm going to do it? Game Time.
I feel like Louis C.K., shouldn't we just break up? I mean, that does not sound like something I want to do, but you may want to. And look, if you're like Jimmy and you want to go get tickets to, say, the Weather Girls reunion tour, then go to Game Time.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's raining men. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But I'm telling you, I've used Game Time, and I use that code LOCKEDONCollege. But I've used Game Time for everything. I've used it college basketball, college baseball, college football, MLB, NBA, pro football. I've used it for everything. I got to see the Panthers play the Dolphins. How about that? How about Young v. Tua Tagovailoa? I got to see that because of Game Time. That's how much I love Game Time, and you'll love Game Time too. Go check them out.
In real life, the Dolphins have little chance against Panthers.
That is true. Somebody did.
Maybe in the ocean.
I think it was Dimitri Martin, who's a comedian. He said, I'm not really into sports. He said, but I wish that we'd have the mascots like Colts versus Bears. Yeah, bring it on.
Oh, that'd be cool.
He said, Jazz versus Magic. I don't know. That sounds a little weird for me.
Very Vegas.
Yeah. Okay. Should Alabama be resetting the wide receiver board? And I say this as a man who went on to a Montgomery radio station today, and I said, hey, Doug Amos, again, good friend, great host. And he said, it didn't feel like Alabama's recruiting great. I said, I think they're doing great. I said, not the least of which is Tristan Keys, who Alabama is right at the top for. Every report you read is Alabama is slightly ahead of Tennessee. Well, guess what Tristan Keys did today? He committed to LSU. Now, I know, we all know LSU got a monster bump in their NIL collective. and they are spending it very wisely. And I am not hating. I am all for it. Go for it. Do your thing, LSU. It's fine because it's all legal. I cannot complain. I can only complain from this aspect that, hey, Tristan, give us a chance to at least bid. This wasn't a sole source thing. This was an open bid. Give us a minute. Now, it's not over. It's certainly not over. But it feels like, okay, now all of a sudden maybe Cedarian Morgan comes a lot more important than he when he was already super important.
Yeah. I think a couple things. First of all, NIL is going to be changing soon. I mean, I think our current system isn't going to be the system soon. So that's first and foremost. That's the first thing to discuss when it comes to this. Secondly, I think there's a formula out here, and we saw it with Ohio State a year ago. Ohio State lost to Michigan. I don't know. Feels like 25 years in a row. I'm sure it's not. But Ohio State lost to Michigan a few years in a row and then watched Michigan win the national championship. And then the next thing you know, Ohio State's NIL blew up in terms of what they had, in terms of what they offered. And it seems to me that that's an easy 2 + 2, right? Imagine Alabama fan that's listening to our show, and I know there's a handful of you out there that are. And let's say that you're one of a handful of Alabama fans listening to the show who've never donated to Yay Alabama. You're just but you're an Alabama fan, not taking a shot at you. You're an Alabama fan, and you go to the games, you watch them on TV, or you buy the shirts, whatever. Well, let's say you lose to Auburn 5 or 6 years in a row. And then you watch Auburn win the national championship while your favorite team's 8-4. You know what you might do? You might send $10 to Yay Alabama because you're like, I can't handle this. I'll give you my $10. And maybe some other people are like, I can't handle this. I'll give you my $100,000 because they're in a position to do that. I think LSU, this is just my sense. And how would I know? Because these things aren't made public. My sense is LSU feels like they're slipping away from into obscurity here. And there's some desperation, and maybe Brian Kelly, for the first time in his whole career, maybe feeling a little warmish on the seat. Not he's on the hot seat. That's ridiculous. And I'm a Brian Kelly fan. I think he's a good coach. But I think there's a little bit of desperation. And I think as we've seen this NIL era, Luke, I think desperation equals magically there's more NIL money, right? Alabama hasn't been in that spot yet. And I'm not saying they're going to be in that spot. I'm not saying they will be in that spot. But I do think Ohio State a year ago, LSU this year, I see a similarity. Shoot me if I'm wrong. Sue me if I'm wrong. I just see some similarities between how LSU was recruiting right now versus Ohio State a year ago. And I'm not saying, hey, for all I know is they offered Tristan Keys a year's worth of boudin at a best restaurant in New Orleans. And by the way, I'd be in on that. And maybe that's all I'm not saying they offered him all the money in the world. I don't know. I'm just saying LSU's recruiting extremely well. There's a little bit of desperation there. And that's going to be kind of hard to compete with until the system changes. I think that's kind of what we got with recruiting in NIL. And hey, LSU's a good program. I can see a receiver wanting to play there. Odell Beckham, Justin Jefferson, the list goes on and on. That is a great destination for wide receivers. Maybe it's got nothing to do with that, but that was my first reaction.
I mean, look, it's okay. I'd be willing to bet dollars, donuts. It's got a lot to do with money. Okay. Because that's really the only thing that makes sense. I mean, Tristan Keys hadn't even brought up LSU very much. And the next thing you know, it's like, love me some LSU.
Yeah. Again, it'd have been Alabama, Tennessee. It'd have been Alabama, Tennessee. Yeah. And here comes LSU out of nowhere.
I'm not hating. And also Boobie Feaster. Now, Boobie Feaster is from Louisiana originally. It looks like he's going to end up committing to LSU. LSU's putting together a monster receiver class. And again, bully for them. I think Alabama will have a good receiver class. They already got some good receivers.
Would me and you do Locked On LSU for life for daily gumbo?
Oh, God. I'd do it just for the saltines, probably. Those little oyster crackers.
We're not haters. That's why we're not haters here.
No, we're not. I'm not hating on LSU at all. I'm saying, hey, good for them. Hey, I'm glad. I guess in the end, I know Alabama plays LSU every year. I'm glad he didn't go to Tennessee or Auburn. I guess. I mean, that's the only silver lining. He can't go to all three of them. Wait a minute. He can.
Maybe he can.
But
We're about to
regardless,
play a basketball player on Friday that's been at 5 places in 5 years.
that is
Our
bananas.
boy Cam. Or 5 years. 6. He's been at 5 places in 6 years.
And he's from Alabama. All right. How about we discuss a little 5-hour energy? Listen, let me tell y'all something. This is for real. I've used 5-hour energy before it was cool. And it was cool early on.
No one's surprised.
Daylight savings snuck up on us again. If you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5-hour energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Lord knows I do. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5-hour energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. I've been staying up late watching all the basketball stuff, and 5-hour energy helps me the next day. It helps me get through. And look, it also helps me when I'm just on the road and I'm driving a lot. And I'll take a 5-hour energy, and then all of a sudden I'm bebopping to the sounds of the Weather Girls. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, peach mango, all those. They're awesome. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5-hour energy shot at your local grocery store or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. I'm telling you, these things help you all day long. Now, I need to see if I'm supposed to. No, I guess our promo for the NCAA thing is over, so I can just do this.
Oh, man, I love the promo for the NCAA thing.
I do. I'm going to go ahead and delete it because
I love that thing. As a matter of fact, that's how I'm going to watch the NCAA tournament, actually. Amazon Fire featuring Locked On hosts.
How will I know who Kenny G picked? All right.
Or Zach Brown.
Don't say that. You'll go to Game Time and look for their tickets.
and I will.
If
not
Kenny G and Zach
not
Brown.
my thing. Not my thing. Zach Brown, maybe. I've never seen Zach Brown. Well, I guess I have. Okay.
Thanks for that. That was riveting. NCAA tournament starts. Well, I mean, it really starts today. I know there have already been some games. I know, but it really starts today. Jimmy and I have already given. I think we gave our Final Fours, didn't we? Did we give our Final Fours?
I think we did. I've got Duke beating Florida in the final.
That's right.
Who you got in the final?
I don't think I did give my Final Four.
Okay, I got Duke beating Florida,
right.
But I went very chalky. I'm super chalky, but that's I don't like being wrong, so I'm very chalky. Though that ends up making you wrong, by the way.
All right, I normally try to do one bracket. I used to do all kind of brackets, like have them all mixed up and getting all these different pools. I don't do that anymore. But I do have a bracket, and I just sort of follow along to see if I'm any good at this. And I'm not putting a ton of thought into it, but I'll say this. I have bammered up as hard as you can go. And I'm picking Alabama to win it, and I'm picking them to beat Michigan State in one bracket. I'm picking them to beat Auburn in another bracket because I just feel like I mean, how many opportunities are we ever going to get to pick that and be considered not crazy? I did pick Alabama to the Final Four. You remember when McDyess went off against, I think it was Penn back in like 94? Remember that?
I remember extremely well. Yeah,
because McDyess, I was in school then, and I remember watching that game, and like McDyess had 20-something points and 20-something rebounds. I mean, it's something ridiculous.
He was all potential until about the last 3 or 4 games of his career, and then it was like, whoa. There
was a game like in the SEC tournament where he had a dunk over George, like he got a rebound and sort of ducked down for just a second, and then he rose up like a phoenix and dunked it so hard on everybody's head that the NBA called everybody else in the NBA and said, "Did y'all just see that?" And then he was drafted second in the NBA draft.
Even with Brandon Miller and all our recent stuff, recency bias ruins everything for everyone. But boy, let me tell you, Antonio McDyess' ability, crazy. I don't know that this ever been, even as good as Brandon Miller was. I mean, Antonio McDyess.
Good question.
Ridiculous. Jared Wallace too, though he just wasn't a great.
He was never a star.
He was never a great jump shooter. McDyess was an inside interior player. Jared Wallace, to him to be as successful as he possibly could be, needed to hit outside shots. And I think that was always an issue with him, even into a very long, good NBA career. But Antonio McDyess, good Lord, he's an interior player. I think he has several bumps on his noggin, on the Coleman Coliseum roof.
It was actually 1995. I said 1994, but it was actually 1995.
He was matched up against Big Country Reeves in Oklahoma
Yeah,
State in 95.
and they let Big Country Reeves do whatever he wanted to do. I mean, I was so frustrated by that game. I'll never forget it. I was so mad. He could do anything he wanted to do, and no. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking it up now. McDyess had, wait a minute, 39 points. I forgot it was 39 points and 19 rebounds.
Good Lord. In the NCAA tournament.
And then, I remember it's one of the best performances in NCAA tournament history.
How old I don't know if people will think I'm nuts. People as old as I am that remember this. I always thought Big Country Reeves facially looked like a dude in Footloose.
He did. He looked like
a good buddy of Kevin Bacon's in Footloose, like his best buddy. In Footloose, I took in the face. Now, that dude was little, and Big Country Reeves was massive. But I thought in the face, and Footloose was like, what was that, 1990, 89, 88? Yeah, so this was just a few years after that. I don't know. So every time I hear Big Country Reeves, I'm like, is he like the older, bigger brother of the Footloose dude? Probably not.
Man, that was a good team. Roy Rogers on that team, Eric Washington, Jason Caffey, Jamal Faulkner, Marvin Orange, Artie Griffin.
Hey, we recruited pretty well back then. I mean, Nate Oates has taken us to a whole new stratospheric level, but Alabama's not new to having good basketball.
Not if we had Antonio McDyess on this team. But regardless, let's get back to this team. So, I've got Alabama. My real Final Four, the one I'm doing for just one is Alabama Auburn, and I'm just doing that because I'm like, it's the only time that I can do it and not be considered insane. Like, I'm picking Alabama, not because I'm such a homer. I mean, it's not crazy to pick Bama, right? I mean, I've got Michigan State, Florida, Alabama, Houston in the Final Four. And I got Michigan State against Bama. The only reason I'm picking Michigan State, and I know people are going to say, just, so they can beat Auburn. Okay, that's a little bit.
It's Izzo.
But it's really Izzo. Because I have this theory about Izzo, like, I pick them in the finals just about every year because I'm like, he's going back. It's just a matter of when. I mean,
he's a tournament coach, and he's just built for this. The thing about predicting Auburn in the final for me, Luke, is two things. I think Alabama fans will agree with this. I don't want to pick Auburn to get to the final because that's so uncomfortable, and I don't like it, and I don't want to give them any credit, and I don't want to predict that and manifest it because I don't think any of us want to see that. But I think we all have to admit that an Alabama-Auburn final, it would kill Luke, but it's kind of cool. Oh, Alabama-Auburn final would be kind of cool. But I don't want to see Auburn in the final against anyone but Alabama.
Right. That's right. Stepping out of my body for a minute, there's part of me looking back at me going, how unbelievable would that be? How unbelievable would that be? And then I come back to myself and I go, I'd never see it because I'd jump off a cliff. And
there's no cliffs in Alabama.
But then Michael Southern, our friend who listens to the program, Clyde Hoops History,
dude knows his stuff.
He sent me a question today, and it's sort of like the riddle of the Sphinx for Luke Robinson. He said, "What if I told you that we guarantee Alabama loses to Duke? Like there's no chance, probably embarrassed by Duke. I don't even think he used that, but I pretended like he said embarrassed by Duke. But Auburn loses to Alabama State. Would you take it?" I said, "You had me at Auburn loses." I mean, the Duke things, getting to the Elite Eight is just crazy.
I'll take it. I'll be honest, and I know I'll get even more hate mail, and I get quite a bit. But I got Alabama losing to Duke in the Elite Eight in my bracket.
I feel like that's the play because defensively we can be challenged at times, and you don't want to be challenged against a guy. Again,
don't like the matchup.
No,
I don't like the matchup.
Being totally transparent, I would name Janai Broome Player of the Year begrudgingly because I don't like Auburn and I'm not a huge fan of his, but he's been awesome in the best league.
But Cooper Flagg's the best player.
Cooper Flagg is the best player.
He's the best player. We don't have an answer for him. No one else does either. It's not a shot at Alabama, but we don't have an answer for Cooper Flagg. They won the ACC tournament without him. I think they're the hot team. I think Florida's been the hot team over the last month or so. I think Duke becomes the hot team and wins the test. So I got Duke winning the whole tournament. I don't have Duke beating Alabama. I got Duke winning the whole tournament. Now, could I be wrong? Could Alabama win the whole thing? I hope so, because I plan to high five all of you listening to the show in San Antonio if that happens.
If we played Cooper Flag, we'd have to do a box and one. And I don't mean a box and one player on him. I mean a box on him and one player in the lane just playing extra defense.
Yeah, it means the same people that kidnapped Devontae Pollard's cousin are going to have to kidnap Cooper Flag.
Yeah, they've got to have spent that money, but that hostage money by now.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
They should be getting out of prison about now.
And they need to go get Cooper Flag for us to have a chance here. Makes sense to me.
That is still how that story doesn't. Like, there's several stories that
we
haven't
talk
gotten
about
enough
it more.
play.
We should talk about it more often.
Devontae Pollard's who was kidnapped? His mom? Was it his sister?
I think they were all involved, but I know this. I'm not going to talk about it because I could get so many of the facts wrong. It was so long ago, but it's the most Alabama basketball story of all time. And I think what people have to remember, people don't remember this. Anthony Grant comes in and he takes over a mess, and it's better, and we're better, and we're better, and we have high expectations. For the first time, we have high expectations in a long time. And then, like 2 months before the semester starts, the star point guard transfers to North Carolina State before a portal existed.
Yeah.
And then the other 5-star is implicated in a federal kidnapping scheme, and he's got to leave school. It's so Alabama basketball at that time. This is what Nate Oates has rescued us from.
Oh, God. We should do great untold stories in Alabama history.
So the team slipped. Imagine that. There's 2 5-stars on the whole roster. They're both gone. So, of course, the 1-loss record sinks. And then they're like, God, guy can't coach after all. And he's proven that he's a good coach. I'm not saying we shouldn't have got made a change. I'm just saying, duh. They didn't win as many games as you thought they would with the 2 5-stars on the roster gone. But
Anthony Grant was the most boring, cool-looking guy I've ever seen. You see Anthony Grant, you thinking that dude's cool, and you talk to him for like 5 minutes, you're like, oh my God, I need a 5-hour errand.
He couldn't generate positivity or optimism in the program. He's clearly a good basketball coach. What he's done at Dayton is proof he's a good basketball coach, but he just couldn't generate the positivity that we needed out. I hung out with Anthony at a recruiting thing, actually. He was scouting a basketball guy, and I hung out with him for like 3 hours. So I got to know him a little bit personally, and I like the guy, but he just couldn't generate positivity in terms of like, hey, this is the dude that's going to lift us up. But frankly, that was some terrible luck that had nothing to do with Coach Grant.
Amish chimneys have more electricity than that guy had.
Yeah. Amish chimneys.
Yeah, I don't know why I say chimneys. I guess I was just thinking like they're made out of rocks. Rocks aren't very electrical. All right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back after the game on Friday with a live reaction. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.